You're listening to The Burning Truth. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, dudes and dudettes. I am your host, one of the main hosts of The Burning Truth, and of course, as always, with me, I have got my voice of reason, my right-hand man. He is none other than John Below.
Hi, how you doing?
It's all good, it's all good. Let's just say this, ladies and gentlemen. If you do hear a few buzzing noises in the background, we do apologise for the inconvenience. The reason being is it's quite hot at the moment, where, even though we're both in different areas, yes, using the power of the internet to basically be able to do this as we're in different locations. But it's a little bit warm, isn't it, Below?
It is quite a bit on the humid side, yes. And I would just like to say that is generally down to the weather, although in Matt Burns' case, not really helped by the amount of steam coming out of his ears. My God, that boy's wound up today. It's going to make for a good show, though.
That it is. I'm all repped and prepped and ready to be ringing bells. Pretty much just like that.
I should probably have a suitable prop on standby, ladies and gentlemen. I don't. Sorry about that. He didn't warn me he was going to do that.
I had to do it just to catch you off guard because we get the natural.
Yeah. The thing is though, you only hit it once. You're supposed to hit it 3 times.
There you go.
There we go. Now the match has started.
There we go.
Yeah.
Let's just get down to business, shall we? Because we have got a lot to talk about, and yes, we are, as much as we did say last week, it's only going to be a short one. 3 hours later.
Advance warning, this ain't going to be a short one because the soapboxes are polished and ready, and we have got lots of meaty talking points to get our teeth into. So, should get on with it.
Pretty much. Let's just get down to business because the first thing we most likely want to be talking about is most likely NXT TakeOver Toronto.
Oh yes, the start of an American wrestling weekend. Not quite the start, the second of 3. If you include UKWA Ready for War. We'll get to that later. The first WWE event of the weekend.
Correct, but ladies and gentlemen, let me just apologise if there seemed to have been a bit of a slight issue there, which we do apologise. I will state it's probably my connection because with the weather and everything, probably melting the air, the broadband and everything. No kidding.
No kidding.
But anyway, we digress. We do digress. Ladies and gentlemen, let's just get on with it and get straight down to NXT TakeOver Toronto. Now, overall, what was your personal feelings in regards to the NXT TakeOver Toronto?
Wow. I think I'm still... every time I close my eyes, I still see the final moments of the main event.
Mm-hmm.
They are etched forever in my memory.
Now, interestingly enough, at this event, there were actually 2 matches also that took place at the event, but weren't actually being used for the event, but more so for NXT, for as a taped episode, for broadcast for the following episode, I believe, of NXT.
Yes, the episode which aired this week, which, I ran out of time to watch before we started. So I've got it queued up on the TV in the next room, and I'm going to watch it as soon as this broadcast is over, even though, unfortunately, the Wikipedia NXT TakeOver page has somewhat telegraphed the results for me.
Oh dear. And yes, ladies and gentlemen... And yes,
fail on my part.
And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I was hoping that my colleague hadn't opened that exact page. I was hoping he would have opened up more so the WWE page because it would have most likely have not displayed that. We could, no spoilers, unfortunately, but in regards to this, there will be most likely be spoilers in regards to the episode, but to minimise the damage for JB, I will just basically put my thoughts on the actual two non-pay-per-view matches very quickly, which is we've
from
got
this week's NXT TV. Yeah, go on.
And straight away Breezango and the Forgotten Sons. Interesting dynamic, interesting matchup. However, I just felt as though, yes, Breezango it's almost like putting a new boot. It's interesting enough, the whole style of them seems to be a little bit different. They seem to be a bit of the old styles, but not quite. The look's a bit different. Where the Forgotten Sons...
There was actually a little hint to that on NXT the previous week, the week before TakeOver.
That there was. And the Forgotten Sons have been absolutely amazing, but I felt as though they deserved a bit more than what they got.
I'll agree or disagree with that when I've seen it, but fair enough. The match that I didn't mind too much about having this spoiled because it'll be very entertaining to watch, but whoever wins, it's not a big deal. The match that I didn't particularly want spoiling, but which has been, however, is the other future NXT match, which was the tournament final of the NXT Breakout Tournament.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't know if we should mention... I mean, we all know it was Jordan Miles against Cameron Grimes, but I don't know if we should mention the result or not.
No. If you probably noticed, I didn't actually mention the results in the previous match, but I will just state, brilliant match, absolutely epic show. It basically show what both of them bring to the table, especially in regards to being wrestlers for WWE. So definitely one I would recommend to watch.
Awesome, which I will do as soon as we're done here at about 3 a.m. given current rate.
And even though you might have spoiled it for yourself, but we're not going to do any spoilers for others who may not have watched it, I will just state this. Regardless of whether you knew the results, it's still interesting to watch.
Absolutely. It's NXT. They don't do boring.
Correct. Now, let's get down to the actual main show of the NXT TakeOver Toronto, which we opened up the show straight off the bat with Street Profits, Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford
taking on the Undisputed Era, the proper one, the tag team of Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish,
who were formerly known as Red Dragon on the independent scene.
Yes. And this was a tag team match for the Street Profits NXT Tag Team Championships.
This was an absolute interesting match, and I actually thought, as much as some of the matches were good, it was weird. I feel as though if this was on, it's a shame because all the matches that were on here deserved to be further up the card. I felt, most of the matches on here, that was like on the lower half,
I know what you mean, but you can't have 5 main events,
No,
someone's going to open the show.
Exactly, and it was a great way to open it. Honestly, absolutely amazing show, and Street Profits, once again, I can honestly say, absolutely knock it out the park. I honestly thought it was absolutely massively interesting that I believe it was Montez Ford paying respect and homage to WWE's The Rock.
Yeah, I caught that. I'm glad you said that because it was one of those. I was watching it when I was very tired. I was half asleep. It was one of those rub my eyes. Did I really just see that kind of moments? Yeah.
It was an interesting dynamic. The only thing I thought was a bit of a disappointment. It was nice to pay tribute to The Rock. The only thing I thought was a bit disrespectful was the fact that it didn't finish the match.
Swings and roundabouts, but yeah, I can see where you're coming from.
Yes, but even so, it's not technically their finisher, so that's where I give a pass for it in regards to it.
Yeah,
but nonetheless, absolutely amazing match. Definitely one I would recommend watching. And what I thought was so interesting about this match is you actually didn't know who was going to be winning.
Well, I found that for, I think, all but one of the matches tonight, to be honest. on the night at Takeover. All but one. I had no clue going in who was going to win.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
Oh, speaking of which, spoilers and all. Are we mentioning the results? Because
yeah, we can.
I mean,
we can do.
I know that we
week.
didn't mention the TV because you might not have seen that yet because that's only been out a couple of days. But it's been a full week, so I think we can mention the results of the show.
I thought it was great that the Street Profits managed to successfully defend against Undisputed Era. I feel as though Undisputed Era, if they did get the win, yes, they would be all the gold of NXT, supposedly.
Yeah,
near enough all the gold.
Storyline's been kind of done to death, so I'm quite glad they didn't go with it.
Yeah, pretty much. Which they've already gone sort of down that road a little bit, minus the NXT Championship, which they didn't have at the time.
Yeah.
But as we already know, before we get into this, do currently have it heading into this event, which we'll get onto that much later, whether they still do or don't.
Indeed. Next match was the singles match between Io Shirai and Candice LeRae, which was a very interesting match.
Yes, especially seeing as I believe this was Candice LeRae's first takeover show.
As far as I'm aware, yes.
Because, I believe that she had, certain friends and family back, watching on, supporting her.
Yep. And of course, I believe also Io Shirai's first since her change of heart, shall we euphemistically call it?
Change of heart?
Since she basically went to the dark side.
Since she pretty much just decided to just go, right, I'm just completely changing my whole demeanour, my whole outlook and look. And I can
since she basically did a Joker from Batman and just set the world on fire, sat back and went, I'm going to watch it burn.
And the funny thing about it is, and this is a thing that I believe that WWE make discredit of, especially with certain wrestlers. Like, before she was very colourful, she's vibrant and everything.
Yeah.
And same with, I'm not disrespecting WWE for this. Second someone turns villain, let's just change the vibrant colours, let's turn them dark and edgy. Let's make them look brooding, wearing black.
Now, you see, you seem to not be a fan of that. I am a massive fan of that.
No.
I think it should happen a bit more often. I see. Go on.
I'm fine with it. Just one problem.
What?
When they do that, usually, there's no personality change.
Well, I know what you're saying. Yeah, normally
usually,
it's normally the case that it's just, look at me, I'm wearing black now, boo me, or I'm wearing more black now, boo me. But in
Io
this
Shirai
instance, the transformation has been pretty much total.
Brutal, in fact. It's the fact that she hasn't just changed her look. It's almost like she's literally changed her whole world around this change.
Her personality, yeah. It's not just, your heel turn 101, wearing black and or a suit and suddenly being the same person but throwing cheap shots at the crowd.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it didn't feel like it doesn't feel like you sold out or or something. It's almost like it's a whole different look.
Do you know what? It's legitimate. More so than some people's have been in the past. Do you know what? It's 100%, it's complete, and you don't even think for one split second that she doesn't 100% believe everything she's doing.
That's what I mean. And it's not just the fact of when she's done it, she attacked her straight away. It's the first time turning into a heel for the WWE. It was the fact that she developed her whole image, her whole look. She was basically pretty much just, her whole demeanour.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is almost bringing roots to where she actually comes, where WWE actually found her.
Yeah. The downside to this being, of course, that as I alluded to when we were talking about the Street Profits match, this was the most openly, obviously predictable match on the card, because having gone to that much effort, she wasn't going to lose, was she?
Potentially, you could say that.
I also like the way that she won as well.
Oh, definitely.
Helps with the change.
About it.
Just like, no, I'm not letting go. You got two choices. You can tap or night.
It's either you're tapping or I'm breaking something.
Yeah.
I'm breaking something, or you're going to sleep.
Yeah.
Pretty much, which straight away, pretty much ended up happening.
Yeah.
Or close to that factor. The point being is, it's so interesting to see that, and the good thing about it is, Candice LeRae didn't lose anything in regards to this.
Oh no, absolutely not.
Not at all.
There is actually a difference between getting beaten and losing, if you know what I mean. Yeah, she got beat. She lost the match, figuratively, but she didn't actually lose anything. She's not any less over because of it.
Yeah. And I felt as though it added to Candice LeRae, because with Io Shirai, she needed the win to sort of get herself up. But at the same time, the good thing about it is, I felt as though she needed the win, but she didn't necessarily have to win at the same time.
Yeah, I kind of know where you're coming from with that. Whereas with Candice, when somebody threw the bucket of cold water over her backstage and she woke up, she probably had to spend 5 minutes asking everyone what happened.
Pretty much. Get the smelling salts.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Which is always interesting for me.
Yes, definitely. And as I say, I may have mocked it for not being particularly unpredictable, but that doesn't mean it wasn't a great match.
And if I'm not mistaken, Io Shirai debuted a new technical submission as well at the same time. So I believe as soon as I saw it locked in, it was like, yeah, there we go. She's clenched onto it, and it was like at first I thought to myself, no, she's not going to tap here. She'll probably go for the big move in him in. But then when she went for the escape, it's like, nope, I'm keeping this in. It's like, nope, they're going down that route. They haven't just changed her outlook, they've changed her wrestling style, which is homage to her teachings of how she learned her wrestling, which is absolutely all credit to her. Well deserved for both of them in this match. Amazing match.
It was immense. As was the Absolute War that we move on to next.
Correct, which is for the NXT North American Championship, which was a triple threat.
Pitting Roderick Strong against Pete Dunne against the incumbent champion, the Velveteen Dream.
Now, regardless of whether or not, at first you got Roderick Strong who turns around saying, I've already beaten you, Velveteen Dream. And Dream pretty much saying, yeah, you beat me, but you couldn't hold on to the dream. Straight away, there's that dynamic. And then when you just throw Pete Dunne in from left field, it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
He wants some gold. And
absolutely.
And at the same time, you got Pete Dunne, who's pretty much coming, not only is he after gold, he wants to have gold and beat his own record.
Yeah, I love the fact that they threw that in the promo, in the build-up. It's like, I'm a record breaker in WWE, but I'm not happy with that. I'm going to win this championship, then I'm going to break my own record.
Pretty much. And then
way to set a bar.
Yeah, and then on top of that, you've also got the added layer of the feud between Pete Dunne and Roderick Strong as well,
which you get the feeling isn't over. You get the feeling that none of the issues between any of these three guys are over, to be honest.
Far from it. But even so, solid match, definitely one we can recommend.
Was it just me as well, and don't get me wrong, this is not a criticism because how can it be? But was this match basically just the three of them's greatest hits? I mean, they could have done that match in their sleep, I think, and it would have been, 4 stars. They didn't. I don't want this to sound negative because it isn't, but they didn't have to do anything outside of their comfort zones. It was still a classic.
Yeah, they didn't have to, but, they didn't have to, but they chose to.
Well, no, that's the thing. I don't think they did. I think they all did. They went out there and Pete Dunne did what Pete Dunne does.
Yeah.
And lots of people came back with bent, shaped, broken back fingers. Roderick Strong came back, did what he does, and the other 2 guys came back in with spines curved in new and unnatural ways.
And also elbow shots to the face.
Yes, the Velveteen Dream did exactly what he does best. That isn't a bad thing. That isn't a bad thing, and the match worked, and it was amazing. But I just get the sense that, should there be a rematch, there's still places they can go. So that's good.
Yes, I do think that, because like you said, they were just hitting. It was almost like you were saying they were hitting their favourite song, saying the same notes, but at the same time, it's their first encounter as a 3-way as well, and they could, like you said, they could do so much more. They could add an extra layer. They could develop this. They can push it further. They can go more into it.
Yes.
There's more to this than meets the eye, but definitely
I've got a feeling that this is not the end of this rivalry between any of them.
No.
Velveteen Dream retained in the end, but you have to... I'm thinking his grip on the title is loosening.
A little bit, yeah. But at the same time, if it is loosening, is he due to be called up?
You just can't say, can you? But then on the opposite side of that coin, it's loosening, but are Pete Dunne and Roderick Strong too obsessed with each other to notice?
Correct. But yeah.
Intriguing going forward, definitely.
Definitely. And then we now move on to the NXT Women's Championship match. Wow.
Pitting champion Shayna Baszler against Mia Yim, and possibly the toughest challenge Shayna Baszler has faced in this run.
No kidding.
Yeah. This was...
No kidding in regards to that. The fact is, what was so interesting is the fact that you had got Mia Yim, who... when at first glance, everyone thinks, oh, happy, smiling, she's brilliant. And if anybody does know some of her history, she is an absolutely amazing talent, an amazing person, with an amazing story.
Yes. But also, she's one of the few people currently on the NXT women's roster who, when push comes to shove, she can do what Shayna Baszler does just as well as Shayna does it.
Yeah.
You do not want to argue with her.
And look mean as hell.
Yeah. Which made for an amazing match because it was genuinely anybody's. It was genuinely anybody's. You could not tell which way it was going to go.
No kidding.
In the end, Baszler retained, but the potential for a rematch is there because nothing was really settled, was it?
No. And it's sort of, you can see escalating as well.
Yeah.
And it was an interesting dynamic with it as well because you'd got, Belair who... Not Belair, I do apologise. You'd got Baszler, who is vicious. And how long has she been champion for?
It's a while. I'm really not sure. I know it's a long time, and this is her second reign, so the combined total of the two is even longer, but I haven't got the numbers to hand. Hold on.
Right. Are you after the total days? Or current days?
Well, both.
Her current reign is actually beating her first reign.
Wow.
as she's currently at 294 days.
Which I think makes her the longest.
Nope.
Well, she's definitely the longest with the two reigns combined.
Nope. She isn't.
Wow.
She's getting there.
Okay. I know the longest, I think, the longest current reigning champion, oh no, is Asuka, of course.
Yeah.
But, yeah. How many days? 200 and...
Well, Asuka.
No, I know Asuka's was like Pete Dunne level, almost like 500 and something, but how many days?
522.
Yeah, how many days for Baszler so far?
Currently, she's at 294 plus in her current reign. But in combined days, she's at, I believe, recognised by WWE, which is 426.
All right, that's not bad going.
Not bad going at all. But it's interesting to say the least. But we'll more on that later. But one thing that Shayna Baszler is, though, she is the first woman to be a two-time NXT Women's Champion.
Absolutely. And that is something that is not going away anytime soon.
Not at all. Not at all.
There you
But
go.
we digress. Yes, we have already spoilt it already. We do apologise because we have just let it out the bag. Yes, Shayna Baszler did defeat Mia Yim, but this was interesting because this match actually told the story and actually put doubt in my mind. I actually thought Mia Yim was going to take it.
Yeah. I think at some point, or for large parts of the match, most of us did.
And unfortunately, that isn't the case, as Shayna Baszler managed to successfully defend her championship belt.
Yes.
Now, moving on.
Moving on to the main event. I was just about to say the Big Show then, but no, don't panic, he wasn't there.
Wow.
Yeah, as I said at the top of the show, every time I close my eyes, I still see the final moments of this match.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Which, just for those who aren't sure and haven't seen it or don't know or have forgotten, I don't know how you could, but this was the 2 out of 3 falls match for the NXT Championship, pitting Adam Cole against Johnny Gargano.
Yeah.
As if you could forget.
No kidding.
Oh, well. I liked the build-up to this as well. Both of them picked a stipulation, and William Regal got to pick the deciding one, should there be one. You knew going in there was going to be one.
Yeah.
And he didn't disappoint.
No, it didn't, because first one, as we know, was straight up match.
Yes.
Straight up.
Just a wrestling match.
Second one, street fight.
Yes. And I
third?
think
Go on.
the third was well, what the hell was it? It was a sort of cross between the TNA Lethal Lockdown and that really rubbish elimination chamber that they let weapons in.
It was almost like, a barbed wire steel cage match, a little bit. It was basically a steel cage match with vicious weapons, and they were vicious with each other.
You're not kidding. Understatement of the show.
No kidding.
It was every bit as brutal as you would expect.
Yeah.
And, well, it was one of them, wasn't it?
It went back and forth, and much of the charging, it was just a epic showdown. Something that these pair have done multiple times, but in this case had to do it 3 times.
Yeah.
And also tell an interesting story. Now, there is a slight issue with this. I have.
Well, I have one as well, but mine's just more on a fundamental fan level. So go on, you first.
I'll let you go first because I think yours might be the same.
Oh, possible. My fundamental on a fan level is the wrong guy won.
Oh, right. That's what you were thinking. Mine was the fact that, yes, we know that they've fought each other before. And yes, a few people stated that this match wasn't as good, supposedly. We have fans raging against us, saying, "Oh, it's not that good. We've been bored by this match. It's been happening too many times. Blah blah." Blah.
Sorry. What were they watching?
Exactly, and
those two guys could go out there and have a World Snooker Championship final, first to 37 falls match, and you'd still be invested until the count of 3 on the 37th.
It was almost like they did their best hits, but didn't do anything. No, because they weren't doing the best hits.
Are you kidding me? Did you see the last minute?
No.
Did you see the end?
It wasn't. I'm not saying that they weren't just doing their best hits. I'm just saying they had to do something more. They were investing in a story, and I just felt I just felt as though certain fans felt as though this needed to be escalated more. How the hell do you escalate it?
I've got 2 words for how you escalate it, and that might be the case going forward. Of the only real way they can. And those 2 simple words are Tommaso Ciampa.
You could say that, but then the only other way I can think of is if one of them ends up killing each other.
Well, as I keep saying, the closing sequence of the match, they can't really top that in terms of insanity, or else one of them might.
Pretty much. But here's the thing: supposedly, rumor has it that Johnny, if I'm not 100% sure, that Johnny Gargano could be potentially getting called up.
I would imagine that's why he didn't win.
Potentially. But we will have to wait and see to see the rest of it in regards to...
Although, do you know what I would definitely look forward to on the main roster? Something that, because there's so much else going on the brand, they never got around to on NXT, and I cannot wait for on the main roster, if they do it, Johnny Gargano against Ricochet.
Ooh.
Amongst many, many other choice matches that guy can have, but that's one in particular. It's something, like I said, they were both in NXT at the same time, but I don't think they ever even so much as shared a ring, never mind had a direct match.
True, but here's another thing. If he is going up, part of me is already praying right now that Tommaso Ciampa's coming back.
Yeah, I think he's going up, but I don't think he is until Ciampa has come back. Because, as I say, what's the next NXT? Is it War Games?
NXT-wise, you're thinking...
The next takeover is War Games, is it not?
I think it is.
Therefore, there's going to be some... All 3 of them inside a War Games cage, possibly with other people involved, to fundamentally end everything. Possibly. Put a line under it once and for all.
Possibly, but I feel as though Undisputed get the worst of it at War Games because they've been in both of them. Give them a break.
No.
Give them a break from it. Give it to somebody else. That's just my opinion.
Well, no, I'm just thinking that's about the only logical way it can escalate any further. But even in spite of everything that happened last night, I don't think the rivalry is done.
Neither do I.
Which is, in my eyes, why the wrong guy... Well, to be fair, the wrong guy lost, but then I don't think Gargano should have lost the title yet. I think he should have kept it until the point when he got called up. At which point he does the whole "I'm going up with it" thing, only to have you know who come back and
Yeah,
cheat him out of it.
I get you, but I don't want to see him come back as a villain. I want to see him come back as a face. Actually, I'd love
What,
it.
the
I'd
Sicilian
love,
psychopath
Yeah,
as a face?
yeah, and I know a way of doing it. I know a way of doing it.
Well, the thing is, if he's going to get injected into the mix with Adam Cole in the long term, he's going to have to, isn't he?
And you know how?
How?
Simple. Have Adam Cole give Gargano his send-off match on a big event. He gets rid of Gargano. He's done. Gargano
Yeah, he
can't
beats
go for
him
it.
again.
Wait. He beats him again. He sends him off. He sends him packing up to the main roster. Ha 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 ha.
Says something cocky along the lines of, "Well, that's pretty much every challenge I have here beaten. There's nobody left."
There's nobody who's good enough to take my championship. There's
Cue
nobody.
cue the noise of the respirator machine or whatever it is at the start
Pretty
of Ciampa's music. Yeah, I can see that
Pretty
working.
much. And then him just come walking down and go, "Don't you mean my championship belt named Goldie that I never officially
That
lost?"
I never lost. And I want it back, and that starts right now, and then beats the
Boom.
living tar out of him. Yeah, that works for me.
That's what I mean. Oh, you thought you had it bad with Gargano.
Oh, and then just before, for a bit of added jeopardy, just before Ciampa makes his feelings known by knocking Cole royally from pillar to post, cue backstage to a shot of either the rest of Undisputed Era, I don't know, laid out or locked in a
Yeah.
room or somewhere
Or
so they
something,
can't
yeah.
come and save him.
Yeah, that would be it. That would just be done.
Yeah. Hashtag feud of 2020 already.
And Vince McMahon, please send all checks to the Burning Truth.
Indeed. Yes. So, yeah, it's worrying that you said that about people thinking that they were just going through the motions and that people might actually
It
be
is.
jaded by NXT, because how could you? How is it possible to be jaded by the exact kind of wrestling that
And
you
do you know
will
what makes it-
try when the main roster doesn't provide?
And it makes it even what's annoying me about this?
Go on.
Gargano responded
Go on.
to the people criticizing. Oh, and he didn't do it sarcastically. You think him responding is a bad idea?
Yeah.
What a response!
Okay, well, I've not seen it yet, so and for the benefit of others who may not have, please inform us. How did he go about it?
He basically turned around and apologized for the fans for not doing it good enough.
That is a double-edged sword, because that could quite easily descend into sort of like what they're doing with Eddie Dennis on NXT UK. You know, sort of, I'm sorry that nothing I do is good enough for you, entitled bastards.
No, but
kind
it
of
wasn't
approach.
like
So
that.
it's a very fine line
It
to
didn't
tread.
come across
because
like that.
No, but if anyone can do it and not come across like that, it's Johnny Gargano.
And he did.
You know,
He did. He came across brilliantly because he turned around and says, we all laid on the line. We do our very best. I'm sorry that the match wasn't up to your standards. Hopefully the next time, if we do go again, we'll get it better this time.
yeah. Fair enough.
And it's like,
Right.
he didn't have to do that,
No, he didn't.
but he did.
But he did, and that's cool.
And
As much as I would love to dwell on NXT,
we need to get racially
we can't, because we need to move on, because we've got SummerSlam to do, and then we've got to get on with something a little bit closer to home.
Pretty much. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let's get on to SummerSlam. And do you want me to get this out the way?
Yeah.
Are you happy with this?
I have no idea what you're about to say, but I would imagine so.
You'll be happy with this.
Go on.
Ladies and gentlemen, John Below in predictions beat me.
This, yeah, I did. Amazingly, I don't know how, but I managed to basically knock it out of the park.
You almost literally clean sweep the entire event.
The only one I didn't get, well, neither of us got, so I don't feel too bad.
But there's a solid reason. We'll get to that in regard to it. But as for the entire event, he got them all.
Yeah, which is...
He got them all.
Oh, wow. Well, that's it. I retire from predictions at this point because I can never...
Oh, no, you don't.
Unfortunately, folks, I don't get it that easy.
Hang on, I'm not 100% sure you might have clean washed it now. I've got one question for you. Did you go Lesnar or Seth?
Pretty sure I said Seth, but I didn't actually write it down, so...
Yeah, it's all right.
If anyone wants to...
I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you did say it was Seth. But I'll check. I'll probably check that so we can possibly do a correction if it is. But even so, even with that, even if you didn't have it, you still won.
Well, wonderful, wonderful news.
But anyway, let's get down to business in regards to this because we've got plenty of matches to cover. To be honest with you, I felt as though this. I'll just shorten this down a bit more. If I'm honest with you, we'll condense it a little bit. I felt. What were your whole view of SummerSlam?
Overall, it was good, but it felt like a lot of it could have been better, you know?
Yeah.
Plenty of it was, you know, a fantastic show and everything, but I wouldn't go so far as to say 5-star classic.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Looking at the list of the matches here, there's quite a little bit too much here that's a bit short. I mean, some of it's for a reason, but... Wow. 1, 2, 3, 4 of the main show matches went less than 10 minutes.
If I'm not mistaken...
In the case of 3 of them, that's predictable and that's understandable storyline-wise, but... to have, you know, all those kinds of matches and they're all going to have that similar kind of runtime, it's, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's a good thing.
But anyway, we digress. We'll just get through this as quickly as possible. Drew Gulak defeating Oney Lorcan.
Drew Gulak, a solid cruiserweight match. Both guys beat the tar out of each other.
For the WWE Cruiserweight Championship as well.
Yeah, I had to go and watch this back because I didn't get to see it live because, we were on the air.
Pretty much.
But yeah, everything you expect. Drew retained, which I kind of thought would happen. Yeah, it was a good match.
It's a good, solid back and forth match. Showed that Drew can also hit hard as well, especially against someone like Oney Lorcan. But Drew seems to be on the rise. He's stock's on the way up, and we'll have to see what's next for him. Now... Yes. Buddy Murphy defeating Apollo Crews via disqualification.
Sort of a nothing match with a nothing result that doesn't really help either of them. I don't really see the point.
I just felt as though we got Rowan getting involved in this just to say, I'm involved, Daniel Bryan's involved.
Yeah, basically as if to say, look, they're not on the card, but we've shoehorned them in.
We're shoehorned them in. Keep your mouth shut, buddy.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay.
Yeah, but you like, keep your mouth shut, but you helped him win. So did you really? You know, did you think that through?
It did, but at the same time, what I thought was a bit wrong with this because Buddy Murphy is still being portrayed as villainous. He's not well liked and everything, and yet they're doing things that portraying him more in a. Why are they getting villains attacking villains?
Yeah, this I don't understand either. No, it lost on me as well, but the whole match was, to be honest, it was just a little bit... It was basically there to fill airtime, wasn't it? And you shouldn't have to say that about wrestling matches.
No, because at the same time, I felt as though Buddy Murphy had his credibility destroyed on the previous week with Roman Reigns. Then he's been destroyed again by Rowan on a even if it's a pre-show match. At least Buddy Murphy had a good showing on this week's SmackDown, but no spoilers on in regards to that. You'll have to check that out if you haven't.
Yeah.
But no spoilers in regards to that. But
and the final pre-show match, Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross retained the tag team championships against the Iconics in another whatever match.
If I recall, this was one I thought the Iconics were going to win, and if I'm not mistaken, I actually turned around and said I'd actually hoped that Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross do actually beat the Iconics.
Yep, and I'm quite glad they did as well, because the Iconics are good at what they do, but they're sort of they're not championship material, are they?
No. And what makes it worse for me, I felt as though this match wasn't as could have been not even on the card at all. Really.
It didn't really need to be, did it?
Didn't need to be, but they did just for the sake of it. And if I'm not mistaken, what happened to the supposed rules of no rematches?
Oh yeah, that comes in and goes out depending on when they see fit, doesn't it? It's another wrestling logic rule.
Yeah, but anyway, the point being is, I thought in actual case what was so interesting in regards to this is, yes, I thought when they won the match on Raw was far better, because they seemed like it seemed more interesting.
Yeah. It definitely did.
Apologies for that there, ladies and gentlemen. It has been a long day, and, extreme heat and exhaustion will cause what just happened. But anyway, we digress.
I'm
No, a bit of the noise vacuum that we just had.
Oh, no, that's fine. Okay, I'm with you now. No, we need to move on.
Yeah, we digress.
First match.
Let me just say, this match just felt as though it was just thrown in there, and you could see that the dynamic wasn't as strong or as good, because it just felt as though them winning the belt was quick and unexpected. It works. This one just felt as though it's just been thrown in just for the sake of it last minute.
Yeah, pretty much. All I can say is, when they do Night of the Clash of the role of they can't make up their mind what they're going to call it, of champions, I hope they put a bit more thought into this particular titles match, because it definitely felt thrown together.
Yeah, which I think they'll actually do a far better job when it comes to the next event. I feel as though Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross are a great tag team, because they got that. It's almost like a bit of a, love-hate relationship sort of.
Yes.
They work well together. It's a weird dynamic.
It is, but it works.
Yeah.
Anyway, we need to move on to the main card, because we've still got shed loads to talk about. So we'll start with the submission match for the Raw Women's Championship. Wow. Becky Lynch against Natalya.
Becky Lynch defeating Natalya in a submission match in Natalya's hometown, and I did not expect Becky Lynch to be more over than Natalya in her home frickin' town.
Do you want the harsh, cold, bitter truth? I did. Natalya's not over.
Ouch. That's gonna sting.
Yeah, well, she's not, is she? The fact proved that,
No, it's...
Was this nominally a face versus face match as well, or is Becky supposed to be...
I think the original idea was they assumed Natalya was going to be loved, because if you remember, the commentary team were playing on that with Renee mentioning.
Yeah, didn't happen though, did it?
It didn't quite happen, so they ended up having to switch it a little bit, and it ended up working off his face versus face, which is a bit of a different match. I thought Natalya turned around saying, "Oh, you want to cheer for her?" You can see that she became more villainous.
Yeah, That's
why I've got to give credit to Natalya, because even though she she should have been portrayed as more heroic. She made the change on a drop of a dime.
Yeah, no, you can't fault her for that. For
No.
Noticing and making an effort to swap things up a little bit. But for me, it was just a sort of. I mean no disrespect to the ladies in question, but seriously, Lacey Evans, Natalya, can Becky have some real competition soon?
Ouch.
Some proper top line.
Well, rumor has it that Ronda could be coming back soon.
And
Ronda Rousey is a top contender.
Yeah, in her own mind.
A bit harsh.
But seriously, the kind of matches that, again, I know it's been done to death, but Becky and Charlotte, Becky and a certain currently absent from the roster person who knows Bayley quite well,
Oh, you really haven't been watching Raw lately.
No, I clearly haven't. Is she back? Good. About time.
And she's nasty.
Good. No, but that's just what I'm saying. This
Let
kind
me
of
just state
is
this.
what we want.
Sorry for the spoilers there, if anybody probably cocking on what I just stated there. We do apologise for that, but that is something I've had to cover off.
It was a very subtle hint, but we'll just gloss over that and move on.
But
anyway,
believe me when I say this, that match at the next event is going to be freaking epic.
Good, yeah. This is the kind of thing that we need because, it's kind of a waste of Becky Lynch's talents at the moment. I feel.
No. This is something that critics are saying. This is who Becky needs.
And
it's that epic.
Fully and totally agree.
But anyway,
speaking of a waste of time, let's move on to the next match.
Just cover it, please.
Okay. Goldberg defeated Dolph Ziggler. Went to the back. Ziggler talked some utter bollocks on the mic. Goldberg came out and basically battered him again. Went out to the thing. The whole thing lasted about 3 minutes, but bloody hell did it feel like 3 hours. Moving on to the next match.
It doesn't get off that easy.
Uh-oh. Warning. Matt Burns soapbox imminent. Warning.
Right, I understand that Goldberg needed to avenge his last match.
Yeah.
Dolph did not deserve that.
Really? Because everything about Dolph's current character absolutely cried out for that from what I've seen.
And I'm going to apologise for the spoiler here, because I'm going to have to mention Raw. Something similar happened on Raw as well.
Fair enough.
Except that match was a little bit longer, and it just... Really? It's just... Dolph is not in a good position right now. It's almost like, I can do this, I can do that. But rumour has it Dolph supposedly doesn't want to be in WWE much longer. Which could strike that could he be wanting to head to AEW potentially, and that's in regards to the treatment he's currently getting. And if that is the case, I don't bloody blame him.
Question is though, do AEW want him?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. He's a great talker. He knows what he's doing. He can wrestle with the best of them. He's a great seller. He's got all the tools. And what's so stupid is when they pulled the trigger on him, he was at the top of his field, and then just went, let's just slip him with the writing.
He's a blabbermouth bump monkey, and he's one of the most overrated wrestlers of the last 10 years, and frankly his current treatment is nothing more than he deserves.
No,
Ta-ra, bye-bye, see you in AEW when you're losing to the artist formerly known as Ty Dillinger. Have a nice life. We don't wish you well in your future endeavours. Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out.
You don't like him, but even so, I felt as though but everybody who got up to the top got to have their moment to shine. They all had a moment to shine. When, for him, it was like, he came up, had his moment to shine, which was for 5 minutes. He had his 15 minutes of fame, and then it was like, yeah, see you later, thanks, bye.
Yeah, but the thing is, there's ways to deal with it, and there's ways to not deal with it.
Which, yes, I will say that they probably didn't do it the best way. But wrestling-wise, I felt as though whenever they got something good for Dolph, and he was able to sink his teeth into, he could run with it, he could dive into it, he could do it. And then WWE was like, yeah, just slip up the last hurdle.
But the thing is, he doesn't help himself.
He doesn't with his selling, that's fine.
His selling is ridiculous, and I just don't like him as a character. There's nothing, he doesn't have a redeeming feature.
You might think that, but
as a face, I just want to cave his in because he's so arrogant, he's not believable. And as a heel, I genuinely clap every time he loses in 1 minute and 50 seconds.
It's not good. It's not good. But anyway, let's move on.
Let's move on to
from
the next match. The singles match for the United States Championship. Well, I say singles match. Basically the 3-on-1 handicap match. AJ Styles, Gallows, and Anderson against Ricochet.
This one has almost got the same thing as that it had in regards to the same comments of NXT. You know, the main event. The fact that these pair knock it out the park, and
people are somewhat spoiled. They expected, 9-star fireworks and the best match ever, and
no.
you don't.
They are getting it.
They're getting great matches. It's just that they're spoiled and they're expecting too much.
It's not that they're expecting too much. It's just as though they've ramped up the bar up and they haven't quite ramped it up further. They want more, but it's a selfish need a little bit.
It is a bit because the feud's got to start somewhere. It's got to, you've got to come in at the ground level and work your way up to 53-star classic. You can't start in 5th gear at 180 mile an hour,
Correct. And to be honest with you, me personally, I thought this was what it needed to be. Great match. It was also interesting to see how Ricochet tried to deal with Carl and Luke Anderson. The only problem I had with it is he didn't learn from the first time. I felt as though that damaged Ricochet a little bit, because I think if you'd face off against AJ, you'd know he'd have his boys there. You'd at least try to get somebody to have you back.
Yeah. At least. Yeah, I know what you're saying, yeah. The next match...
Oh, actually, we didn't mention who won, but AJ defeated Ricochet.
To retain the United States Championship, yeah.
Let's move on.
So, the next match, Bayley against Ember Moon for the SmackDown Women's Championship. And Bayley's kind of in the same boat as Becky Lynch at the minute. Don't get me wrong, Ember Moon is a top-notch challenger, but there was just something about this match that didn't work.
Are you ready for this?
For me, anyway.
Do you know why? Right. We all know that Bayley beat Ember Moon.
Yeah.
Saw it coming. Why?
Because Bayley handpicked her as an opponent.
Not just because of that.
Okay, go on. Why else?
Never mind the fact that Ember Moon's only just reached the main roster. She's not ready, or even that. Look at the freaking build-up and momentum.
Yeah. It's odd.
You got Natty putting Ember Moon in the sharpshooter a week before the event, days before the event, and Bayley coming down to rescue her opponent.
Yeah, that.
Then you've also got Ember Moon losing matches the week before.
Yeah.
It was like, really?
Yeah, and the match never really got going either. It was sort of.
Yeah, it was just, for me, it felt as though Yay! Emma Moon's in the title picture, but she's not credible because she couldn't beat other opponents on SmackDown and got beat up a little
And
bit.
there's actually no way she's going to win, so oh well.
Because if she did, it wouldn't be believable.
Yeah. Shame, because it had the potential to be a great match. Just
Correct.
wasn't.
I think if both of these went in looking strong, and what made it worse was the fact that you've got Emma Moon versus Natalie the week before. Regardless of it, neither one could lose, but there has to be a loser of some sort. But it's just really.
Yeah, it was a little bit silly.
And then they ended up doing the silly shenanigans thing. The fact that they both didn't exactly lose or win. Crowd made it clear that they didn't like it.
Yeah, what can you do? By that point, you've done it. You can't take it back.
Correct. And we'll get back to that in a bit of that subject a bit later.
But for next, we move on to Kevin Owens and Shane McMahon in the match that had telegraphed from day one written all over it.
Yeah.
I mean, Owens won, that's great. He shouldn't have lost because he is not leaving. He's got future Universal Champion written all over him.
Universal,
or WWE Champion, sorry, yeah. He's just...
No.
This match didn't need to happen. It literally needed to be... Do you know what I would rather have honestly seen?
What?
I would rather have seen a repeat of Owens' match against Ziggler the month before.
Ooh.
Good morning, Stunner, 1, 2, 3, good night, and then a 5-minute Kevin Owens promo about how he's not done with Shane McMahon because he wants a fair match next time where Shane puts his authority on the line. And what was Elias's role in this match other than to be like belittled and beaten down and made to look massively inferior to Kevin Owens?
Which they recovered that on SmackDown, but that's on SmackDown because you clearly can see that this is not over because of SmackDown. And
but
it was just like, really, it's now getting boring.
Yeah, it didn't need to happen. It needed to be snap, Kevin Owens win. If we fight again, I'm not doing it unless you put your authority on the line. Otherwise, I'm done with you. I've beaten you. I'm moving on.
Pretty much.
It's what it needed to be.
But at the same time, Shane could turn around saying, yeah, you'll do as I say, I'm your boss. Which is, it's giving Shane too much power because what makes it so stupid is the Omni Shane.
Yes.
Is sort of...
Yeah, but the thing is, he isn't Vince McMahon, his dad, as you well know, in his battles with Stone Cold,
which is fine,
was there. He was saying, "Do you know what, Austin? You're going to do it my way." At which point Austin smiled, hit a stunner, and went, "Oh, you think?" Whereas Shane McMahon, as an authority figure, doesn't allow that level of ambiguity. It's just like, "No, you will do what I say, or I'll fire you." And it's just like, you can't impose that on him this soon. He's got to be allowed to get the better of you repeatedly. Otherwise, if he just flat out can't challenge your authority, then you're taking the wheels out from under him before he's even started going.
There is that, and at the same time, it comes across as more, which is more to place the Shane's strength, more bratty, childish.
Well, yeah, I mean, as if it wasn't, if the comparisons weren't bad enough, somebody has told Kevin Owens to start using a stunner as a finisher. I mean, how transparent do they want to make it?
It doesn't make it any more. What more can we say? But anyway, we digress. I think it was a good showing for Kevin Owens. I thought it was a good showing for Shane McMahon. It was good, the fact that he was showing how he was trying to cheat and doing everything to get Kevin Owens to lose his job by possibly being disqualified with Elias being there. Yada. But it was still an interesting dynamic. I thought it was quite funny how Owens won the match, but at the same time, he didn't need to win it that way with the cheat.
No, but I think that was just...
It was still funny.
I think that was A, funny, and I think that was B, Kevin Owens and WWE's way of basically saying, do you know what, Shane? I know you're going to break the rules. That's par for the course. Guess what? I can sink to your level and I'll still beat you. Yeah,
I'll just do a bit of an Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah.
Here, ref, hold this chair. Put it away. Kick! Followed by a single noise. Just as a quick reference to the old WCW games, if you remember.
Yes.
Sorry, and old WWE games as well. If I'm
Yep.
not mistaken.
Right.
I just thought I'd just throw that in.
Yeah. Moving swiftly on.
Charlotte Flair versus Trish
Defeated
Stratus
Trish Stratus
by
in
submission.
what was a perfectly good match. I'm just kind of... yeah.
Great match. Got telegraphed by one comment, by one post.
Okay, and what was that?
Trish Stratus, win, lose or draw, I retire from wrestling after this match.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Little silly, and I thought it went on about twice as long as it needed to as well, but apart from that...
But at the same time, it also showcased that Trish Stratus has still got it, which is amazing. Absolutely showcased everything. She still has it. I just...
Yeah, I know what you're saying. It was just sort of a bit...
It's a hard one.
Whatever.
It's a hard match for me, because I don't mind Charlotte Flair, but stop running down her throat. Yes, thank God she's on the title picture. But what, you try and now put her over the title picture.
Yeah, which is idiotic. Oh, and speaking of, oh God, they're in the title picture again.
No.
Let's move on.
Not yet. Let me just have my 2 cents. I do think it was still classy of Trish Stratus to do the old school way of leaving.
Oh, absolutely.
Respect to her, and absolutely amazing match, I thought, personally. As much as we are iffing and ahhing in regards to it was still a great match. That aside, in regards to, even though Flair might have been forced down the throats, I honestly thought the match itself, brilliant, knocks it out the park.
Yeah, no complaints from me. Like I say, I thought it went on a tad too long, but everything they did was okay.
Yeah.
Yes, and as I say, speaking, as we kind of were, of being elbowed into the title picture, again, oh look, it's a WWE Championship match with Randy Orton in it. What is it, 2006 through 16, again? Hasn't that guy had enough title shots? Seriously. And the worst part about this is, the way this one ended means they're going to go again.
Definitely. But anyway,
yeah, we are talking about Kofi Kingston against Randy Orton for the WWE Championship.
Correct. Just in case, if there was any additional noises in regards to the background, we do apologise for that.
It's either a fan, a creaky chair, or we went under a bridge. I'm not sure which.
Either way.
Yeah.
Either way.
These things happen.
It happens. We will continue on.
The net result of all this is Kofi Kingston is still your WWE champion because the match ended in a non-finish, a double count out.
Which was the one match you couldn't predict.
Yeah.
No one could.
No one probably saw that coming. I think a fair few probably were living in fear of Kofi losing, to be brutally honest. Kofi's got probably one title reign in him. It needs to be long. Randy doesn't need a 14th, like he probably didn't need any of the previous 5.
He doesn't, but at the same time, the way this ended, it just felt it should have been one and done. Yes, we know Kofi Kingston and Randy Orton have history. Yeah,
I agree, but it should have been another point on the, yes, I do deserve to be here, Kofi Kingston, sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? The Kofi Kingston, I am worthy of this spot tour by beating Randy clean and moving on to the next person that doesn't think so.
And moving on to the dirt that was already there. The problem is, it just felt as this just feels like they're just continuing it just for the sake of it. Possibly because I'm actually now wondering if they've actually got any actual contenders for Kofi.
I'm starting to think, bearing in mind this was a double count out, which to me implies Night of Champions, it's going to be a rematch. I don't think they have.
Which is a bit concerning.
Yes. They've got a locker room full of people and yet they can't promote someone to challenge. I think that's terrible.
Correct, but at the same time, I felt as though Kofi Kingston's run hasn't been as amazing as it has.
I think it's been great. It's been as good as they've allowed it to be, given how they've booked it. They can't be surprised. You know, it's them that have pulled the strings.
Correct, and that's where it is. It just feels as though, yes, they pulled on the fact that they brought a bit of realism with it, with Kofi supposedly being held back because of Randy Orton, yada. He's
But yeah,
there.
if ever there was a time for him to go, look, I deserve this. Here's the proof. Good 1, 2, 3. Good night. This was it, and they just didn't do it.
And they haven't. They're dragging it out a little bit.
Yeah.
Which is
justification. That's the word I was looking for about 5 minutes ago. Kofi Kingston's justification for being champion.
Which feels like it's now being waned because they prolonged it. Which also turns around and says, is Orton going to be taking it off him? Because of the whole storyline now, because they've prolonged it.
Dreadful throwbacks to the aborted championship run of Bray Wyatt. Speaking of which moving on.
Which will now move on, because yes, Kofi Kingston, in a way, did successfully defend his championship because
by virtue of the no decision. Yeah, he is still your WWE champion. Moving on to the last person who Randy Orton beat for no apparent reason to lift the championship he didn't need.
But at the same time, Bray Wyatt might have not been ready at the time, and as he hadn't had many really successful wins.
Bray Wyatt, however, is a true one-off.
Yeah.
As was proved by the fact that he's reinvented himself again.
Again, in such an amazing way.
Yeah. The new version of his entrance theme, even more chilling than the original. That lantern, oh my goodness me.
Yeah, that's one way of keeping people out.
Yeah. And, well, this match was everything it needed to be.
It was
the
short.
Fiend is someone to be feared. It was short, brutal, sweet, and the right guy won.
Correct, and on top of that, it wasn't the demon Finn Balor. It was the Fiend Bray Wyatt against the extraordinary man Finn Balor.
Finn Balor, who was perhaps slightly telegraphed this. He was predictably no match for the Fiend, but that didn't make for any less of a...
Correct, because like we have stated, that Finn Balor could be potentially be taking some time off.
I think he has requested 2 months leave of absence, which last I heard had been granted. So we're not going to be seeing him for a little while.
Correct, but at the same time, this almost turns... It's almost like a bit of the irony against Finn Balor. Because you've got Bray Wyatt who's tapping into his demon. And it's like Finn's having to face off against another demon. Now, this could potentially lead to Fiend versus Demon.
Now, I was just going to mention that, whether it be for the main title or... Hang on, what? Are they on SmackDown? Or Raw? Which brand are these two on? I get so confused. It's Raw, right?
I believe Wyatt is potentially on Raw. I'll just get that double check for you.
Well, essentially, the point I'm trying to make is whether it be for the world title on either brand or the Intercontinental or US title, I can see the build-up to the second collision between these two possibly being, let's say, for the Intercontinental title, for the sake of argument.
No, the interesting thing is, my mistake, the Fiend Bray Wyatt on Raw and Finn Balor's on SmackDown.
Oh, I see. But as I say, the thing I was building towards there was I can see possibly for the second tier title or possibly for the world title, depending on how far they decide to push Bray Wyatt, I can see the rematch. I'd say for the Intercontinental title because it's quite gimmicky for the main one, but I'd say the rematch, the Fiend versus the Demon, for, let's say, the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania.
Possibly, but at the moment I feel as though no championship should really be involved. Really.
Well, no, okay, maybe not, but yeah, I can see after Balor's come back, he can tease wanting to come back at
That we could.
the Fiend, and the build up, the finish could be like we say, Fiend versus Demon at WrestleMania. That would be, well, I think the suitable way to draw a line under that particular feud and have one or both move on towards going towards the title picture, because both of them should be in it.
100%. Not disagreeing with you.
Yeah.
Not
And now we come
disagreeing
on
at all.
to the quote marks in the air, inverted commas, main event.
Correct.
Also known as the thank fuck for that match.
It is.
Apologies.
This was another match I so wanted to be wrong on. And I guess I was.
Yes. Because essentially, see you, Brock. No one's going to miss you. Bye. Have a nice life. Retired.
Rumour has it supposedly, originally, it was meant to be Brock going over on Seth Rollins. Rumour has it that it was ordered by the new head of Raw for Seth Rollins to become victorious.
Remind us again who that person is.
He'd be linked with Brock Lesnar, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Mr. Paul Heyman, but that was like back, in the back locker room. And on top of that, what was so clever as well is Seth Rollins beat Brock Lesnar, and then there was a bit of a comment made by Paul Heyman stating that, Seth Rollins was bricking it, thinking Brock Lesnar was going to come running down the aisle, ready to pummel him for a rematch. When it's like, well, there's no rematches.
Yeah, and this technically was the rematch, even though there aren't any.
In a way, but Seth Rollins managed to get his chance in regards to having basically, you get what I mean?
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you, yeah. The right man won. That alone was the best part of the way to end the show. Everyone went home happy.
Yeah.
The champ is in, once again. The vacant champ has gone, hopefully forever.
For now.
Yeah.
And if he is coming back, then I would say, more importantly, it should be him fighting against somebody to put them over, to make them look good. If I'm not mistaken.
I agree. I think Lesnar needs to go. If he does come back, he's made his point. He needs to go absolutely. He needs to be like a sort of Undertaker at WrestleMania. He needs to have marquee matches and go absolutely nowhere near the title. Because he doesn't need it.
He doesn't need to have it outright.
No. If he's going to appear once a month and then on a pay-per-view and then that's it, no.
Yeah.
Title should be on a full-time performer.
Correct.
And now it is, which is good.
And it's back onto a full-time performer. But we'll have to see what they do next in regards to Seth Rollins at the moment.
Yep.
We'll have to see what they do next.
Where they go next and whether they've actually got an opponent lined up for him.
Overall, personally, I feel as though they got plenty they can do with him at the moment.
I agree. It's just a case of whether or not they actually do it.
True. But then again, take into account that, not this week, the following week, we do actually have the King of the Ring to talk about.
Oh yeah, I'd heard that they were bringing that back.
That they were, but we'll actually go into who we actually think will win it. Most likely next week in regards.
Possibly next week, possibly the week after. We shall see. But anyway, yeah, that's WWE business covered for this week. But we're not done.
We're not done. This is a subject that is self-plugging. Yes, it is. It is something that I actually run myself. Yes, we know. And if I'm not mistaken, we've even got the preview out as well on YouTube.
Ooh. Yeah, so check that out if you get a spare minute. After we're done here, if you don't mind, you can wait a little bit longer.
Definitely. Or you can check it out, or, fingers crossed, hopefully it could be linked in with this. Possibly you can probably see it in your, in your recommendations, as long as if you're liking UKWA. We'll just go through a quick overall run through of the card, because I will state this: it's hard for somebody to try and even try. It's been me trying to catch up with a lot of what's going on.
Yes, yeah, I can completely understand. You had plenty to think about.
And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that someone tried to send me a medical bill.
I'm sure they did, and I bet I can know who as well.
Yeah, but we'll get to that. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we'll do a quick flash review, quick results in regards to WWE UKWA Ready for War, which is Might Legacy managed to defeat Connors and Black.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. Connors and Black, I think, for their sins, underestimated exactly how much the Might Legacy are prepared to bend the rules to win this match, and it cost them.
True, but at the same time, it's almost like a Might Legacy almost had somebody in their back pocket.
Ever so slightly, yes. Which definitely worked in their favour.
Which it might not have been. They might not have actually been in their back pocket, but it could even be that they actually saw an opportunity and went for it.
It does appear that way, and only time will tell.
Only time will tell. And then we got Kieran McQueen defeating Dougie Matthews
in a match which had stipulations. Kieran McQueen, in winning, earned himself entry number 30 in the main event Ready for War Rumble. Yeah. And Dougie Matthews, in losing, earned himself entry number 1.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's just state this. Entry number 30 is a great selection to be in, great opportunity possibly to win the Rumble, whereas
number 1, you've got your work cut out.
Pretty much.
Especially in a situation as frantic as the Rumble turned out to be. But did we expect anything different?
Correct. And ladies and gentlemen, let's just move on. Then we had the King of the Kingdom Championship match,
which was an open challenge.
Wow. I did not expect them.
No. Well, the thing is, that's the beauty of an open challenge, is open your mind, expect anyone. And, well, we expected almost anyone, but I think pretty much the 2 people who ended up responding and making this a triple threat were pretty much the only people who expected themselves.
Correct. Now, if I'm not mistaken, we actually had, Charles Kelsey in the ring, clearly, ready for his match. He was ready, saying, bring out anybody. And he thought he was going to be getting some slouchies. Did he get slouchies?
I think he thought he was going to get someone who he could, 5-minute walkover job. He didn't. No.
Let me just state this. This is something that, if I'm not mistaken, at the start of the show, though, we found out that AJ Hughes is actually linked with Charles Kelsey and Christopher Drew. If I'm not mistaken, they even branded themselves, if I'm not mistaken.
They did.
As the All Elite Express.
Sounds a bit sort of early 90s UWA, that, to be honest, but is it UWA?
Possibly
the American
homage.
Yeah, they could well be
paying some homage, but even so, wow, this was interesting. He probably was thinking, King Kelsey thinking to himself, "There's nobody in the back who's going to be dumb enough to take me on. I've got this in the bag. Drew will send somebody out."
You're going to make me look bad now.
Go on.
Because if I turn around and go, "But there was," that implies that I'm saying they are dumb enough, and that's not what I meant at all.
I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, I saw you in your wrestling gear, on the commentary table. Would you have got in the ring with Charles Kelsey?
I did mention this last week. I did it solely because I wanted to wind up my fellow commentator Tom Baker not the Fourth Doctor, that I might be in the Rumble. And do you know what? It was an absolute dud because he didn't even mention it. However, would I? Yes. Would I have done as well as either of the people who actually ended up getting in the ring with him? Undeniably not.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, let's just get down to let's just not beat around the bush and just get down to who answered the call. First one up was none other than Dave Del Vecchio. Now,
Dave Del Vecchio making his UKWA debut. Sorry,
correct. And he also had company with him in Filthy.
His manager.
Well, actually, I won't say Filthy because that's his former name. I'd say none other than Phil Woodvine. Now, some people are probably thinking, where have I heard that name before?
And some people will already know. But for those that don't, please fill them in.
Just check out Pro Wrestling for You, ladies and gentlemen. Because if I'm not mistaken, Dave Del Vecchio is the current Pro Wrestling for You champion.
Yes.
And if I'm not mistaken, Phil Woodvine is a bit of a... He's almost in the same boots as me. He runs it.
He is the owner of Pro Wrestling for You. And as if Dave Del Vecchio wasn't enough of a challenge for the King of the Kingdom champion, Charles Kelsey also faced off against, I believe, the first ever King of the Kingdom champion.
Correct. None other than the Beavyweight Drill.
Yeah. For those of you who watch it when it comes out on Turnbuckle TV, please, if you'd like to count the number of times I make a frankly awful joke about Drill, namely a pun about his name or something similar, please let me know how many it was. And yeah, I apologise in advance. It got away from me. It was only supposed to be one or two.
I'm actually now wondering if I should actually get that match and get a counter on it.
You can if you so wish.
We'll have to wait and see in the guys.
Needless to say, I think Stuart Summers, the king of the ring announcers and my fellow commentator, had his head in his hands going, I can't believe you just said that a good half a dozen times in the course of the match. Correct.
But ladies and gentlemen, this is an interesting matchup because what made it so interesting is the fact that Charles Kelsey dissed somebody who actually was at the show, who basically managed to give All Elite Express a bit of a taste of their own medicine by even socking one to Christopher Drew, and he'd been waiting for that as well. None other than Basham.
Luke Basham, yeah.
Charles Kelsey made a reference to Basham in his open challenge announcements by stating, the one who's injured himself and then the supposed Dosser who lost the belt, referencing Drill. Now, you think that you'd be... Wow, you make an open challenge. Yes, he thought that, most likely Basham couldn't answer the call because he wasn't medically cleared, and he wasn't.
But unless he'd been told some dud insider information,
however,
he should know better than to tease a perfectly healthy Drill.
Correct, but at the same time, ladies and gentlemen, let me just state this. Yes, that Luke Basham did actually get into the ring, and yes, let me just state this. Luke Basham did personally sign a waiver to be able to go into the ring, so he went in under his own free will and did not hold UKWA responsible. And the funny thing about it is, he actually opted for that himself.
There was no UKWA bending his arm behind his back saying, go on, sign it. He was more than happy to.
He was the one who actually pointed it out and said, could I have the form so I can actually be in the ring? He was the one who opted it. It's probably because he wanted to just get his hands on Christopher Drew, if I'm not mistaken.
And can you blame him?
Not really, especially the fact that he has been a bit of a thorn in his side, but I'm pretty sure that he probably got a little bit of redemption.
I'd say the scores were pretty much even after the end of tonight, but we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Correct. But anyway, what was so interesting in this match is it was a hard-fought contest, back and forth. Now, this is no knock to Dave Del Vecchio. He didn't come out the victor. Charles Kelsey was successful in defending his championship, but he was also interested in the fact that he didn't pin Dave Del Vecchio either.
No.
He managed to get the pin victory over the Beavyweight, and if I'm not mistaken, he even had a bit of a comment to say to Drill.
I believe he did.
which, if I'm not mistaken, he even turned around and stated the exact words of "Justice for Drill is over."
Yeah, pretty much. Absolutely no confusing what he meant by that.
No, he was not. He was not beating around the bush. Basically, he was referencing in regards to what had happened in the past in regards to Drill, but Drill hadn't mentioned that even going in. But it was almost like Charles Kelsey was trying to hit a sore spot at the heavyweight Drill.
Well, given his recent history at UKWA shows, you can't say you're surprised by that.
It's Charles Kelsey. He loves to upset a lot of people.
Rub people up the wrong way, as it were. And so far, it's working to his advantage because, well, like it or not, he is still your champion.
Correct.
Our champion.
That he is. And ladies and gentlemen, we now move on to a absolutely amazing match, which was none other than AJ Hughes versus Kit Knox. This was more so for Pride.
Yeah. AJ Hughes, the newest member of the All Action Takeaway. Sorry, what are they called?
All Elite Express.
That's the one. And Kit Knox, the newest member of
Shropshire Hardstyle.
So a lot on the line in this match.
It was more for bragging rights. This was. Now, interestingly enough, back and forth, AJ Hughes had already got beat to pick with Kit Knox. If I'm not mistaken, Kit Knox managed to successfully defeat one of AJ Hughes' proteges in the fact of Jared Gorwick.
Yep. And so this was a grudge match. And as you would expect with the factions involved, ringside was fairly crowded.
Pretty much. And here's the thing. AJ Hughes turned around and can say, "Oh, Kit Knox won by a fluke. He won by a fluke." The last time I checked, Kit Knox beat Jared Gorwick by clean. Whereas, yes, AJ defeated Kit Knox in this event, but I wouldn't say it was clean as much as AJ Hughes is trying to state. It was clean.
It was, yeah. It wasn't really, was it?
Much
interference.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Correct.
Less said about that, the better.
However, one thing that we did miss off, if I'm not mistaken, and this was during the Kieran McQueen match early on, I believe Christopher Drew walked out with Dougie, if I remember. And if I remember, who did he say run the show?
I believe that he may have erroneously claimed that he did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I wonder what changed his tone.
What, as in made him say that or made him stop saying that?
Pretty much stopped saying it and quickly absconded.
I'm fairly sure it might have had something to do with the person in the next match.
No, it wasn't. Not in the next match.
Okay.
I turned up.
Ah. Well, there you go. Yeah, I do. Yeah, sorry, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. I'm moving. I'm thinking about the fallout from the main event, but we haven't got to the main event yet. There's one more match first.
We'll get to that. But anyway, we digress. The thing is, I have to sometimes put Drew in check. However, when Drew does overreach, there are certain times where even I can't even defend him from his own actions.
No, let's just say his mouth wrote checks that, well, at Ready for War, his backside had no choice but to cash, whether he liked it or not.
I don't think it was backside. It was more like his chest, but we'll get to that a bit in the next few minutes. But anyway, we digress. We get to the match before the pre-main event, the match before the main event. What is known as the co-main event, if I'm not mistaken.
Semi-main event, if you will.
Yeah, which is none other than Chantel Jordan versus the debuting Kendra.
Kendra, who, well, UKWA management manages to look at Matt Burns sideways even though he's not in the room. Couldn't have picked a more difficult opponent for Kendra's first ever UKWA match, and indeed, first ever match.
If I'm honest with you, I didn't pick it.
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't pick it. And
Fair enough.
this is the odd thing. This was the odd thing. When Kendra came in to pretty much get, sign up to UKWA and everything, she actually put in a request.
There's
Immediately.
Brave, and then there's Brave. Wow.
She actually wanted to face off against Chantal Jordan there and then. And they're actually almost, they know, Kendra's been, sort of follows Chantal Jordan and everything, and Chantal's always been respectful to fans and everybody that know her and everything. So when she pretty much came in, if I'm not mistaken, Kendra's exact words were pretty much, I know exactly who I want to fight, and if I'm going to fight anybody, if I'm going to be coming into UKWA, I want to be aiming for the top. So I'm going to go for the person who I think's at the top. I want to outright challenge Chantal Jordan, and before I could even possibly suggest or recommend anybody else, Chantal had actually overheard it herself and pretty much just
being the equal opportunities girl that she is, said, "Yeah, go on then."
Pretty much turned around and says she'll take on all comers, she won't back down, and that she wouldn't. And the fact that she wouldn't insult Kendra by either going easy or anything, she's going to be coming at her with everything. She just hopes that Kendra came at her with everything,
and she did.
Which they did. Kendra came at Chantal Jordan with everything she got from what she learned, from training and everything, and probably most likely from what she studied of Chantal. Chantal probably got caught for a little bit, especially with Kendra debuting. It probably might have gave Kendra the edge in the sort of way, because Kendra had actually seen some footage of Chantal Jordan where Chantal can't actually be able to, mentally prepare for Kendra, especially with somebody who was debuting.
I know what you're saying. Well, indeed. And as it turned out, Kendra, although she came up short, gave a very good account of herself.
Correct. Put up a very valiant effort and
Indeed.
Everything. And, you could see that there was plenty of respect between Chantal and Kendra.
Absolutely.
But, ladies and gentlemen,
and it's time for
the main event.
The most hectic half an hour I think you'll ever see in British wrestling.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, on this show, I believe that ring announcer Stuart mentioned that there was meant to be entries at every minute, which was a bit of a slight delay.
Yeah.
A bit of a crosswires. It wasn't a minute, it was every 30 seconds.
It had to be because of many factors.
Many factors which we can't go into at the moment in time. But, ladies and gentlemen, that match was... When we say ready for War Rumble match...
Yeah, it was basically
all that
30
war.
Guys just tearing each other apart.
And especially for the fact that, it was to earn the right for any match against anyone at any time.
And I've got to be honest, I earned a grudging respect for Charles Kelsey. Because not only did he enter the match in an attempt to, not only be the champ, but get the top match for himself as well.
Yeah.
Assuming, of course, that if anyone else won, they'd be gunning for him. And so, trying to eliminate a bit of competition there.
Potentially, but yeah.
He also entered at number 3, so...
Number 3?
That's going.
For me, the fact that he actually stayed in is quite brave.
Yes.
Did he have a game plan at the time, and everything? But we'll get onto his supposed game plan shortly, which I was not exactly pleased about.
Yeah, the answer is yes, he did, and it was not to everyone's taste. But the Rumble itself was, as we said, about half an hour of absolute carnage.
It was. It seemed like all Elite Express had their game plan. We had plenty of debuts.
Nearly came off for them.
pretty much new debuts, new faces, new people. People want to make a name for themselves. If I'm not mistaken, I believe at one point someone got power bombed. We also had
at one point we had what I believe was a Bible being used to belt several people in the face.
ouch.
Yeah,
I've heard of forcing the good word onto people, but calm down.
indeed. Plenty of new faces, plenty of good showings, plenty of surprises. And what would a Rumble be without a bit of controversy?
Yeah. Entry number 29.
Before we even get to the end of the match, entry number 29. I don't know who he spoke to pull strings with. Well, I do actually, because I'm guessing it wasn't you.
Yeah.
Entry number 29. Especially putting his money where his mouth is.
Yeah.
Shock horror.
Yeah. Especially for the fact that, if I'm not mistaken, when that match was announced, I actually turned around and stated anybody who's under contract. Now, due to legal terms, he's a very, very crafty and devious person.
And so he took full advantage of that.
He had taken advantage of that because...
We are, of course, in case you aren't quite following us, referring to entry number 29 in the Ready for War Rumble was the general manager of UKWA and member of the Crispy Takeaway Express, or whatever they're called.
All Elite Express, and if I'm not mistaken, he was endorsing them.
Yes. Christopher Drew in the Rumble, has he lost his marbles? Apparently not.
No, but the fact that he managed to weasel his way into it didn't exactly bode well in my eyes. However,
it certainly did.
However, as much as I disagree with him putting himself in the match. However, I allowed it for one reason only.
Because you really, really wanted to see 29 other people get their own back?
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's fine. And so it turned out.
Yeah. He got eliminated.
He did. He did not, however, go quietly.
Fair enough. He was eliminated. Good effort for trying. He tried to do something. Now, the question I've got to ask is, what match was he trying to set up?
Ooh. Well, you have to imagine he was trying to help a certain associate of his.
True, but
from the All Day Takeaway, to get themselves a nice match in the future against a cushy opponent, and maybe I don't know, maybe you might book someone who is not an UKWA regular, and so he will feel that he can relax for a show because he doesn't have to put the title on the line, or maybe he can use it he can invoke it to say, I'm my own opponent in a title match, so I'm having the night off. I'm not sure what Charles Kelsey's game plan was.
No, I don't.
But Christopher Drew was definitely part of trying to achieve it.
No, but the point being is, with Charles Kelsey, I actually had a bit of a hint from him because I believe that he was interested in some, if I'm not mistaken, real competition.
Yeah.
As he was stating. But Drew, as much as you could say it,
yep,
you'd only put yourself in that match as if you were after something yourself.
You think Drew was after a match of his own?
I think Drew was after something more than what he was. I can't quite put my finger on it, but
well, needless to say, if he's at the next show, and as I wholly and wholeheartedly predict, he gets his hands on a microphone, I'm sure he'll explain his reasoning.
Possibly. But to be honest with you, I'll forget about it for the time being. We will continue on. Now, what I thought was absolutely interesting is, yes, he was eliminated, and we got down to the final two, which was Kit Knox and Charles Kelsey. Credit to him.
Again, grudging respect to Charles Kelsey. He put the work in, he made it all the way to the final two.
Correct. What I don't appreciate is the fact that when you are eliminated from a Rumble, what are they meant to do when you're eliminated?
Immediately return to the locker room and stay there.
Now, did Christopher Drew do that?
No.
Now, no, he didn't. Now, he could turn around and say, oh, well, I'm the general manager. That's fine. He can still stay out there, a general manager. But name me something that he did that I have had to warn him countless times.
Yeah, he's the general manager. He's not supposed to get involved.
Handy directly got involved once
Again. This is after he got to warning 2 of 3 at last month's show.
Yeah, and take into account he got a pass the first time from my own business associate, Renee.
And last time out he was told if he got to strike 3 was he was out the door permanently. He got to strike 2.9, and
He was close.
He still thought he'd try his luck this time, and he nearly got what he wanted. The good news was, of course, a certain co-owner was having none of it.
No, because as much as I can turn around and say that stipulation that I had placed on him at the former show wasn't in place, however, I was not going to let him get away with what he had been doing.
Which is blatant interference.
I had an inkling he was going to be involved, and as much as do not give it away, oddly enough.
Was it not when he walked out to the ring and told that he was a legitimate competitor in the Rumble?
Take into account, I didn't even know about that.
Well, no, you weren't actually backstage, so you wouldn't have known.
I was actually in the office, and all of a sudden, I sort of decided to, Rumbles are happening. I'd probably have a bit of a nice walk down. I'd probably check up on the main event, and lo and behold, I walked past the locker room. And as I walked past the locker room, I noticed that in a certain locker area that was left open because it was especially with all the room, and I noticed I did a quick head count, and I thought to myself, Charles Kelsey hasn't come back, and neither has Christopher Drew. He must be outside. And I thought to myself, he's probably outside with his suit on. I then noticed something hanging up.
A suit in a nice, ready to be taken to the dry cleaners bag.
And there's no Christopher Drew.
Which is not a good sign.
And I'm thinking to myself, is he in the shower or something? So I dismissed it at first. I pretty much walked straight to the into the gorilla position, and as I look on my cameras, who do I see?
Not just outside the ring, but in it.
In it.
Yeah. By this point, of course, we'd already seen this on commentary, and we couldn't quite believe it either.
Which is where at that point I looked at it and thought to myself, is he insane? I'll allow it at this point. I'll see how far he goes. He then got eliminated. I thought, fair enough, fair dues. No, he hasn't he was doing trickery and everything to get out. But even so, there's no rules in that match as such. But here's the thing:
the rules, as minimal as they are, can still be abused, as we found out the hard way.
Correct. But then when he was at ringside and he ended up, as Charles Kelsey is trying to attempt to eliminate Kit Knox, pulls out Kit Knox's hand underneath him to assist Charles Kelsey.
From outside the ring, having already been eliminated, if memory serves.
And being involved, which, no, I'm sorry.
No.
If you were eliminated, you leave. You do not get back in. You do not get back in.
No.
And do not interject yourself involved in that match. Yes,
but he did.
He interjected himself into the match, which I allow because he was being brave enough to fight. But then re-entering it in again and using abuse of power.
Absolutely, which is why the match had to go down with the ending that it did. I don't want to spoil too much because, hey, we want you to watch it when it comes on Turnbuckle TV.
No.
But
we will reveal it. We will reveal it
Okay.
because if I'm not mistaken,
We can give away the result, but we don't have to give away exactly how it got there, you know?
True. But all I'll just state... No, actually, forget it. I'll just get it off my chest because I've got plenty to say about All Elite Express. What I will state is the fact that I was considering about to fire him. If it wasn't for the fact that Shropshire Hardstyle turned up, I was considering firing.
Wow. Well, maybe they should. Maybe Shropshire Hardstyle. We should be grateful that they did, but maybe they're not so much. Having heard that.
All I'll say is, All Elite Express should be thanking Shropshire for walking out and vacating them out the ring.
Yeah.
And also giving a bit of a teaching lesson to Kelsey to not gang up on one person.
Yes.
And at that time, while they were both drained, I thought to myself, we're now at even Stevens level. Restart the final two.
Absolutely.
To make it fair. And Kelsey put up a valiant effort. And none other than Kit Knox gets the win.
Indeed. So that means any match, any point, at any time in the future, if he hears it announced and goes, I want you to make that a triple threat, or if he hears someone announce who's making their debut and goes, ooh, me, I want to face them, he now pretty much can, whenever he wants.
One thing I did find odd.
What?
I'm surprised he didn't go straight for Kelsey there and then. He could have.
There's the potential that could still happen, but...
He could have.
Yeah, he could have.
But he didn't. He wanted to be able to face Kelsey possibly at his best.
Which is fair enough.
Under possibly fair rules. Now, end of the show. We digress. I will state, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that Shropshire Hardstyle even managed to make a statement of stating... We still managed to kick in All Elite Express while they got an additional member.
Yes. And then, was their announcement official? Do they have the same number of members now?
It was a temporary member.
Ah, okay. A temporary member who, nevertheless, let's say, I don't know, kicked Christopher Drew hard enough that, I don't know, might have even knocked some sense into him. Fingers crossed.
Oh... Yeah, this is where the medical bill came from. Christopher Drew from taking some vicious headshots and vicious kicks to the chest from Chantel Jordan. And if I'm not mistaken,
honorary temporary member of Shropshire Hardstyle.
And if I'm not mistaken, I believe CJ Connors wasn't making, was just probably riling up Chantel by stating that Christopher Drew had said some naughty things.
Being a bit naughty himself by actually saying that Christopher Drew had said things that, well, he may think privately. I don't think he had actually said out loud.
He may not have, but it's Chantal isn't just called the bad girl for nothing.
Absolutely not. And as you say, you maybe would have called time it a bit sooner had you known the size of the medical bill you were going to get. But at the same time, satisfying to watch. Very satisfying to watch. Here's
the funny thing about it: the medical bill came in, and do you know what the funny thing was?
Go on.
I don't think Christopher Drew actually expected me to sign it.
I've got to be honest, I didn't either. I did not think you were going to say that.
I had to sign it. I do have some compassion.
Well, unlike Christopher Drew, by all accounts. But yes, that's a good thing.
I do have some compassion.
Oh, it's a good thing that you do, not that he doesn't. I just want to clarify that.
Yeah, I do have some compassion, and even I felt sorry for him.
Yeah.
But anyway, we digress. That was a wrap-up of the show.
Wrap-up of UKWA Ready for War, and pretty much a wrap-up for the show as well, because we need to get out of here, because we have been rabbiting at you for, frankly, long enough.
Correct. Could not have said that any better myself. And one thing I will state is the next show, which is, if I am poorly mistaken, I'm just getting some of the details.
The next show, ladies and gentlemen, get your diaries out and get a pen ready, because we're about to give you the name and the date of the next UKWA show. So, yeah, I'm just filling, I think, while Mr. Matt Burns gets out his Filofax. He's a very 80s guy, Matt Burns, and scrolls to the right page and finds the relevant date that he's already got marked in pink highlighter.
Pink?
Well, they don't make red highlighters, do they? It was either pink, yellow, or green. That's what colour you get highlighters in.
They do make red highlighters.
No, they make red felt tips, which do a similar job. Anyway, the point being, I thought I was filling so you could find the date.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But anyway, we digress. But anyway, the next show date is Saturday, 23rd November.
Yeah. And do we have a show title yet?
That we do. Nothing burns like the cold.
Interesting.
And ladies and gentlemen, let me just state this. This is not in Stoke or at All Stages Civic. I will state this is most likely going to be in Redditch.
Ooh.
So another location for the UKWA to possibly go to new stomping grounds as well.
Lovely, lovely. And on that note, I think it's time we do the endorsements and then roll away to, in my case, sleep. Much needed sleep.
Correct. As much as we go on to the roll endorsements and everything, I'm going to keep this short and sweet. All I'm going to be mentioning is probably follow UKWA, UK Wrestling Alliance, Manchester Pro Wrestling Academy. Beginner classes are on Monday, £10 per class. Classes being 7 PM till 9 PM. Please check out JT Printing and Stitching, JFX 3D for your custom made championship belts and mostly custom items. Please check out Mind and charities like Mind and Changes for Health and Wellbeing, especially with you've always got to look after your mental health and mental well-being. Please do take care of that. Please check out bands like The New Breed, Kamens, Blackpool, absolutely make amazing music. Please check out on the lighter side of wrestling, especially with OS Review and of course Botchamania and WrestleCrap. You're welcome, Matthew.
Nice one. Cheers, Ardy.
And of course, please check out some YouTube channels like, for Philip DeFranco, When Fandom Strikes, and Luke Moto, and Gaming Moto, and also First We Feast, especially the hot ones. Because if I'm not mistaken, on the hot ones, the most recent episode, which is the series finale, has got none other than Stone Cold Steve Austin on it.
Ooh. If that doesn't make you want to watch, nothing will.
Definitely. Of course, please check out podcasts for all your things geekiness, be it Geek of the Week, hosted by none other than Magic Mark Adams. We also recommend to please check out We the Independent, and if I'm not mistaken, if you want to check them out on their social media, they call it as We the Indie, and that's not with a Y, but
Indie.
IE.
Yep, as in indie wrestler, not as in abbreviation for the Indy 500. There's a difference.
Correct, there is a difference, but some of their podcasts have got some absolute amazing interviews. I need to do some catch up on, especially on some of the podcasts myself. But one episode I would highly recommend, or should I say 2 episodes, as it's a 2-parter, is the interview from Jack Sexsmith.
Wow, yeah, can't miss that.
Amazing, interesting story, and one I would highly recommend everybody to check it out, because you learn so much in regards to that. We also recommend you to please check out Kayfabe Music, especially for custom made music, especially for entrances. We also, of course, recommend you, as always, please check out Turnbuckle TV. For, if I'm not mistaken, you can actually get a monthly subscription, get 30 plus companies to check out, all on there, especially UKWA and
for the
others.
Absolutely unmissable price of just $3.99 a month, or just less than £1 a week. And what else can you get for that these days?
Correct. And of course, we always recommend everybody to check out your local wrestling. Of course, some examples are, for example, just for a quick case in point, are United Wrestling, Academy Pro Wrestling, Future Championship Wrestling. Who I will just state right now, we will not be live next week because unfortunately we do actually have a busy schedule, and one of them being I will actually be in attendance to Future Championship Wrestling next week. Just to put
understandable.
and of course Fusion Championship Pro Wrestling for You. And is there any other companies you would like to mention? Like
Let's see. Future Shock Wrestling, Falling Star Wrestling, Progress Wrestling, ICW, let's see, PCW. Basically, if you live in an urban area built up that can be described as a town or a city, Google wrestling in my area, because there's probably a promotion there, and if there is, go check it out.
Correct, but the funny thing about it is you actually said Google wrestling in my area. You don't even need to do that anymore.
Oh, you see, it's almost like we wrote this beforehand, isn't it?
Pretty much. And instead, all you have to do is just get your handy dandy phone out and download the application. Babyface Wrestling UK, which I will just state is, if I'm not mistaken, UK did wait in the top 50.
Rock and roll.
And the top 50 of followed companies on there. Not
Spectacular.
I'm not saying where it is, but I'm just saying it's in the top 50 the last time I checked.
Tell us the name of that website / app again.
Well, the app is called none other than Babyface Wrestling UK, where it is your one stop for all, British wrestling, of course, which is where if you want to see where your local British wrestling is, get on that app. You can click it onto it. It's checking down your area, so you can actually check off. If you can travel,
yeah,
you can set how far you want to travel and put the button in, hit the button, and it'll tell you all the dates and possibly some show information, of course, and possibly even links to where you can actually get tickets for them said events as well.
And how much does this wonderful service cost? Because it's got to be a few quid for something as magnificent as that.
You know what? You think that, especially where you can get, you can probably you check out on, the number one wrestler who's being followed, number one promotion who's being followed. You got all that great goodie. You can actually travel up and down, see what is on, what local wrestling's on show.
Yeah,
and
go on, break it to me gently. How much?
The low price of nothing. It's free.
Oh, wow. You just, as if it wasn't unbeatable enough already. There is the metaphorical icing on the cake.
It's free, so check it out. And last but not least, please, of course, check out the Burning Truth website, which is www.theburningtruthuk.com. I could run down the list of things that are on there. We do actually have some links to some of the things that we have mentioned on there, but we cannot be held responsible for any external web sources, of course. And please check out our social media, which is we are on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and of course Twitter. Twitter does have a different handle name, which I'll spell out the handle name for you, which is WRESLING4THWALL. And of course we do actually have some past episodes of us on Spotify. Right.
Lovely. Right, I think we're done. So thank you very much for listening.
We are done for this week. We
may bring you something next week, but we're not 100% sure, and it won't be live, as stated.
Correct. We will most likely have something pre-recorded. It could be a single episode. It could be something different. We'll have to wait and see what it is. But ladies and gentlemen, we will hopefully bring some content to you that might prove to be interesting. But
Fingers
check us
crossed.
out. Check that out for next week. But for now, until then, till next week, please, everyone, that this is going to be a wrap-up for right now. Please, everybody, stay well, stay safe, and as always, please, check out your local wrestling, and as always, stay safe, and we'll catch you later.
Goodbye.